Hey, good morning, everyone. Have I got a word for you today? Hey, I was thinking this morning about, the mind of Christ. How do we have the mind of Christ? How do we get the mind of Christ? So I want us to go to the book of John, chapter 14. We're going to go to verse 26, and I want you to grab a hold of this. This is some of that red letter stuff. This is Jesus talking to you and talking to me. It's a promise. It's a promise from God to you today, for tomorrow. I want you to grab hold of this. Here it says in verse 26, but the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything. So, as I thought about this a little bit, I got some insight on it, I do believe. It says, but the Helper, that Helper, first and foremost, you got to recognize this is Jesus talking, and he's talking about what God is going to do, who God is going to send to help us after he's been hung on a cross, after he's been killed, basically been murdered, gave his life up for you and I. This is a promise from God through Jesus for you and me. But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, that Holy Spirit in us, whom the Father will send. That promise has come to pass. The Father's already sent the Holy Spirit because Jesus hung on the cross, was buried in the grave, rose from the dead, and resurrected to the Father. And he says, when I go away from you, the Father will send that Helper, and the Holy Spirit's here. He says the Father will send him in my name, and he will teach you, not he might teach you. The Holy Spirit is that voice that speaks inside of you that says, well, you probably ought not do that. But he's saying he will teach you all things, not some things, but all things scriptural. I always tell people, hey, you got to go to chapter and verse. If you can't match it up with chapter and verse, you ought not be doing it. It says he will teach us all things and will remind. That Holy Spirit is that reminder, that little nudging in our spirit. He says he will remind you of everything that I have said to you. So first and foremost, the Holy Spirit will be working in you, but I want you also to recognize that responsibility of the Holy Spirit working through you, and you being that gentle reminder in someone you love's life. When God prompts you in your heart to speak something good into somebody, to remind them that he loves them, that they are loved, be that person. So I want you to know that that's a promise for you and me, and it has been fulfilled. That Holy Spirit is with us to remind us. What are you going to do with that little reminder? You have a blessed day.